I just climbed the highest mountain in Ecuador at over 6,200 meters above sea level. This is the furthest place on planet Earth that you can stand from its core, and it really did not go as expected, but I've got a hell of a story. Mount Chimborazo in Ecuador is one of the highest mountains on the planet, and it's also one of the closest to the equator. As the Earth spins on its axis through space, the centripetal forces mean that it's not a perfect sphere and it bulges slightly at the equator, making this place further from the Earth's core than the top of Mount Everest. And not only is this a white mountain, meaning that the top is entirely coated by snow, the day we ascended is the first time in over a year that it had snowed in the area, meaning there was some pretty serious complications. Now, of course, you can't just rock up to a mountain this high where the air has less than 10% oxygen, expect to rock up and climb it. And so there was a lot of preparation that got me to the start line. So I flew initially from sea level, from Miami actually, and got to Cuenca, which is 2,500 meters above sea level, and spent 2 weeks working there, getting acclimatized, going on some acclimatization runs. So I was 100% acclimatized to 2,500 meters before spending 3 nights at the base camp, which is situated at 4,000 meters. While there, we're just resting, eating as much as we could, and going on acclimatization walks. So a walk every day, only a couple of 100 meters ascent, but just getting the blood pumping, and it helps accelerate that acclimatization process. Now, I knew from my successful but far more difficult than it had to be ascent of Kilimanjaro around a year earlier now that altitude is always going to be your biggest enemy. The thinness of the air is fine. If you're fit enough, you can get over it, and the actual physical exertion itself, it's a case of mind over matter and just pushing through. But altitude sickness is a whole other thing. When you get that nausea, inflammation behind the eyes, stops you from eating, can make you vomit, can give you a serious headache. You don't want to be pushing past that, so you can't rush that acclimatization process. And I was climbing this mountain with a mate from England actually. He's ex-British military, his name's Harry, extremely fit, and we made sure he had sufficient acclimatization so that wasn't an issue for him either. 3 days at 2,500 meters, and then 3 days at 4,000, and then we got dropped at the Carroll Refuge, which is the start point for the hike, at 4,800 meters, where it decided to snow for the first time in a year. Hello guys, it's never easy, is it? You may have noticed it started snowing, and it's not even the wet season. It's not snowed here in over a year. Our guide's name is Pablo, and he's kind of happy to see it because there was no snow for all the wet season. And here we are now battling the elements. We're currently at the Carroll Refuge, the starting point. It's been hailing and snowing, so we're biding our time a little bit before we start our ascent. It is 3:30 now. I think we're going to start about 4 p.m. and it's a 2-hour trek up to the high camp where we're going to be resting for about 4 or 5 hours before our midnight summit push. So the bags are packed, the ice axe is still ready. Just had a coffee, and we're playing a nice game of categories. We were naming as many American athletes as we could, going around in a circle, anything to pass the time. And yeah, I'll pick up when we get on foot and ready to go. We are ready to go, oh, except Harry. All right, we are ready. Backpacks are on, waterproofs are on. Harry, careful you don't fall over. You might get an ice axe to the neck.
No, that's why it's facing sideways.
Yes, nice one. So this trek took place over 2 days, and the first part was to hike from 4,800 meters up to high camp at 5,300 meters through this fresh, light and crisp, freshly laid snow. Not too difficult, not too thick. So we took the initial ascent up to high camp for the evening. Pablo, is it uphill the whole time?
Yeah. All the time.
No one warned me.
I thought this was just like going to be a bimbo.
This is absolutely awesome. Like no other scenery I've seen before. To do day one in the snow is fantastic. We've done probably half an hour, so an hour and a half to go. Definitely, acclimatization is underrated. You need to get it done.
Isn't that a sight for sore eyes?
Guys, we've made it to high camp, and this is the tent where we're going to be resting and spending the night. I've just freshened up a little bit, about to have dinner now, and check out this view in front of me. How stunning is that? That is just incredible how the clouds have opened up. Right, let's head in for dinner now. All this fresh snow, it's beautiful, isn't it? Making a hot chocolate in there. How you doing, Haz? Surviving?
Yeah, good mate, good.
Inside the hot tent. I was not expecting a dinner like this. It looks fantastic. We've got chicken. Is that chicken? Yeah, chicken breast. Or
No, I
fish?
think that's fish.
Fish, yeah.
Es pescado or
Fish
pollo?
fillet.
Yeah.
Nice. Steam coming off that. Sun is well and truly set now, so we're going to get this down us, and then we're just going to rest straight after this for the nauseating morning hike. Dinner was finished by 8 p.m, which meant we got a couple of hours to lie down and rest until we were up and at it again at 11 p.m. So only 3 hours. Safe to say, no shut eye was got. Well, shut my eyes, but no sleep was had. Rested up and then had to get up at 11 p.m. to get kitted up, get a little bit of fuel in, and get ready for the nausea-fueled intense hike for the next 6 or 7 hours up until sunrise to the summit. And I knew it was going to be hell, and I was fully prepared for war, but what happened next was well beyond our control. Good morning, happy campers. It's now 11 p.m. Never said good morning at 11 p.m. before. We've all tried to get some sleep. I think I dreamt at one point, and as Fatima nicely pointed out, I'm looking kind of swollen, so it's what it is.
Not swole.
Not swole, no. Yeah, head's feeling pretty full.
Everything swell up.
We're pretty... That's inappropriate. So it's a case of getting some breakfast in now, or just a little bit of fuel. We're gonna have a coffee before we prepare for 6 hours of what can only be described as torture until the sun comes up. I know you can't see it, but because it was full moon just 2 days ago, the entire sky is lit up still, and we can see for miles, and there's a lightning storm going on in that direction now. Right, it's about to get a whole lot harder. All right, the clock has just ticked past midnight, so we've got our helmets on, harnesses on. Ice axe is about to get attached, crampons down there, ibuprofen and caffeine in the system. Feeling good.
Feeling good.
Feeling good, mate. Pablo is just tying us all together so that we don't fall down a crevasse, or if one of us does, hopefully the other two can pull us out.
And they said, obviously, Adam, because you're the lightest and struggle to put on muscle mass, you have to go in the middle so the two big boys can hold you up.
Yeah, exactly as Harry said, because I'm the strongest and most important, they want me in the middle. All right, see you soon. It's the first 15 minutes knockback, pretty successful. We're just traversing the ridge, with the ridge on our left side, meaning the ice axe in our left hand, and the rope that connects us all on our right sides, so that we're all able to self-arrest if anything goes awry. Pretty steep, steeper than I expected. Obviously, even though it's pretty bright for us and it looks like we're gonna get a good sunrise, you can't see anything at this point. So, we're gonna keep pushing on for 5+ hours. But yeah, enjoying it, very much enjoying it. More than I've enjoyed any other mountain, I reckon, at this point.
5,443 meters above sea level. We have been going for an hour. We've done a kilometre.
Little rest on this rock face. See if you can see this. Look at that. It's called El Castillo. And then into the abyss. This is gnarly. Having a great time. Having a great time. Painkillers and caffeine. Wonder drugs. Wonder drugs. Crampons and ice axes are pretty easy to get used to as well. So as you can see, from midnight till about 2 a.m, I was feeling good, acclimatized, fit, managed to eat dinner. Endorphins were flying and we were crushing through the snow. And then things started to get very steep very fast. So about 2 a.m, we had to do this sheer rock face climb with the ice axe and crampon, getting pulled up by the rope and trying to stick to it as much as possible. Very hairy. And this was the time that I knew this was not for the faint of heart, and things were going to get more and more intense as time went on. Just finished that absolutely gnarly traverse, hand over hand, ice axe into the snow. Oh, sketchy actually, to be fair, but kept lots of tension in the rope. Things went well, almost. I'd like to say we're almost halfway. Who knows at this point. Taking regular breaks, definitely feeling the air getting thinner, but we're pushing on and we're having fun. From 2 a.m. till 4 a.m, safe to say I was no longer enjoying it. The endorphins had started to fade away and the fatigue and the nausea was starting to set in, but we were pushing through. We were making good time. Had to do a couple of self-arrests. Every single step, it was getting steeper and steeper. Everything was 45 degrees. Every single step was bang, pushing the crampon with the right foot, pushing the crampon with the left foot, get the ice axe in. And again and again. The snow wasn't too thick at this point. It was about 10 or 20 centimeters thick after being cleared. So you had to crush it down, get through it. But when you can barely breathe, the time starts to add up, especially when you're doing it for hours and hours with zero rest. And shout out to Pablo as well, as the snow was starting to get thicker and creeping towards that 30-40 centimeter mark. He was clearing it nicely, crushing through it. Fantastic guide. And from 4 a.m. to 6 a.m, things turned into hell. As I said, the snow was gradually getting thicker and thicker. We were up to about 30 or 40 centimeters at this point, and every single step, if you didn't dig in properly, you were just going to slide 45 degrees down the rock face to your death. So it was super imperative that every single fixing was secure, whether it was with the ice axe or the crampon. And there were a few times that you just had started to slide and had to self-arrest with that ice axe. Yeah, it was hard, but I knew it was going to be hard, and there was no way that I was going to give any less than 100% to get up to the top of that mountain. But sometimes God just has his way with you. I'm not going to lie, this is absolutely gnarly. It's now 4:30 a.m. We're on the side of this volcano in Ecuador. So many times the ice axe and the crampons have come to the rescue. This is not beginner shit. I'll have to show you the crevasse on the way down, but it is gnarly. So we just keep pushing on. It is hell. So we get up to 6,000 meters, a new altitude PB for me, and the snow has gradually got thicker and thicker and thicker. We reach an impasse, not an impasse, but a section where the snow is now 50 centimeters thick, half a meter thick, and Pablo cuts a meter squared block out of the snow. And what happened next really surprised me. As soon as he'd finished cutting off that meter block, slip. It falls away. We see it disappear straight down, accelerating and accelerating down the face of the mountain, and you could just see that puffy fresh snow for the first time in a year just sliding over that compact stuff underneath. And then a matter of seconds later, literally a couple of seconds later, crack. An avalanche under our feet. It sounds like 100 kilograms of snow have just been dropped on top of you at your feet. You look around and you think, what the hell was that? I turned to Harry, he was like, what was that? We turned to Pablo. We all knew pretty instantly what it was. It was a case of a tiny avalanche where the snow had just fallen underneath us. You felt that crack of compression. It was loud, so loud, harrowingly loud.
Do you know? I didn't know this sound. It's time to go. Yeah.
And at this point we knew, Pablo turned to us and he said, today boys, it's not a summit day. It would have taken us another 2 hours to get to the top, even without the increased risk of dying from that avalanche risk of trudging through that snow, and the amount of fatigue it takes, every 10 centimeters more of snow that you have to trudge through, and it would have only kept getting steeper and steeper past 45 degrees and past 50 centimeters thick. It was just not going to be our day, and the risk of dying was just too high. This mountain, as you can start to tell, is no walk in the park either. Pablo's been doing this for many years, and the death toll is pretty high. There's a lot of graves on Chimborazo, a couple of deaths per year. In the last 3 years there's been more than 10 deaths, so it was very clear that we had to turn around, and you can't push your luck in those kinds of conditions. So we started to turn around and made our way back as the sun started to rise.
I've done some Coke adverts in my time, but this might...
That is absolutely the best one, yeah.
So the plan now, get back to high camp, safely and soundly, slipping down all of this ice, get back in the car and back to a reasonable altitude, and I'll give you a debrief from there. And the plethora and extremities of emotions are just incredible. From the day one hike where we're making our way up to high camp, feeling euphoric and hopeful in that fresh snow, and then even the first 2 hours from midnight to 2 a.m. I even said on camera, this is my favorite mountaineering experience so far. I was pumped and full of energy. Then obviously the fatigue and the fatigue and the fatigue, trudging through that snow, just getting battered down, 2 steps up, 1 slide down. Getting back to high camp, I was a dead man walking. That nausea, altitude headache started to set in, and I wanted to be anywhere else on the world. I remember sitting on the toilet and saying, that's me, done, I'm retired from high altitude mountaineering. But you fast forward 1 week, you start to recover, the pains and the aches start to go away, you get back to a more reasonable altitude, the stubbornness starts to set in, and you think, no way am I going the rest of my life without summiting that mountain. So I will be back no matter what it takes, and high altitude mountaineering is certainly not over for me. No matter what it takes as well, it certainly takes a lot out of you. And what an incredible experience, certainly not a failure either. My first time on a white mountain, my first time seeing incredible crevasses like that, my first time in crampons and ice axes and having to navigate up a mountain that way with obviously incredibly thick snow and harsh conditions. A new altitude PB, I superseded my PB of Kilimanjaro at 5,900 meters up to 6,000 meters. And also we did kind of achieve our aim. Of course we achieved our aim. I was still at one point the furthest man on the planet from the Earth's core, which is an incredible thing to say, and one of the main reasons we wanted to attempt that ascent of Chimborazo. To achieve that and be the furthest man from the Earth's core, pretty special as well, even though I didn't appreciate how special it was at the moment. Well, there you go, some successes, some lessons, and an incredible story. We remain in Ecuador for the next few videos. I'm very excited to keep continually sharing stories with you, and as always, I'll see you on the next adventure.
Oh, you want me to say that?
You have to.
Oh, I have to. Like and subscribe.
No, say it with conviction and look
Please
at the...
like and subscribe. Adam Radcliffe at YouTube,
.com.
Instagram, Facebook.